On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law. Boy Scouts of America. The Boy Scouts of America, BSA, was founded in 1910 to teach boys patriotism, courage, self reliance, and kindred values. The first black troop was formed on July 31st, 1911, in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. On July 31st, 1916, the first official Black Boy Scout Council was formed in Louisville, Kentucky, Troop 75. By 1926, there were 248 all Black troops with 4,923 scouts. The Inner City Rural Program was also developed to expose rural scouts to the city and vice versa, but was small in scope. Boy Scouts of America established the Railroad Scouting Program to grow rural troops. Employees rode trains across the South, stopping in every town to distribute information about forming a troop. This campaign was so successful that two Southern regions were started: Region 5 in Memphis, Tennessee, and Region 6 in Atlanta, Georgia. In 1937, 57.9% of Black Scouts were from these two regions. Scouting for Our Boys was a brochure to appeal to Black Scouts and perhaps part of the railroad materials distributed. It outlined the programs and showed leaders teaching the boys and the boys enjoying their membership. The Scout Oath. American values of honor and service appealed to Black men and boys. William Murray, author of History of the Boy Scouts, wrote, quote, Negro lads in the South and in the northern industrial centers were somewhat out of the stream of American boy life and needed special aid, end quote. Programs targeting gangs were unexpectedly successful, and in many cities, as many as 25% of boys living in public housing projects were enrolled in the Scouts, many former gang members. This was the case for boys living in the Ida B. Wells public housing project in Chicago, where Troop 446 was active in the 1940s. Urban scouting meant adjusting to the space available for scouting activities. But scouts proudly executed their tasks, even in the cities, winning smiles and admiration on their achievements. Segregation across much of the country promoted separate but equal practices that did not equate to equally distributed funding or access to facilities that white scouts used. Some scouts were not allowed to wear the uniform in public, but make it anyhow leaders made the smaller budgets and insufficient facilities work for them. The National BSA was defensive about segregation, stating that the Boy Scouts of America never drew the color line, but the movement stayed in step with the prevailing mores. By the 1950s, the BSA had an annual endowment of $2.6 billion, but local Black councils saw little of these funds for their troops. But there were early successes. In April 1925, Thompson Jackson had the idea to form a Boy Scout troop for the boys in Mansfield, Ohio. He went into the office of Floyd Dent and laid out the plans for the creation of a troop. On June 19th, 1925, 20 boys were awarded their tenderfoot badges at the Friendly House. According to Jackson in a letter in the Mansfield News on September 30th, 1930, quote, the entire official staff of the Johnny Appleseed area had been foursquare behind the advancement of Troop Number 7 ever since its induction. End quote. Early on, Black Scouts were recognized for their service with published stories and pictures in Scouting magazine in the 1930s. They noted that Brooklyn Troop 55 participated in the opening of the Merchants Exhibition at Madison Square Garden in 1911 as members of an integrated troop. There was only one integrated troop in the Deep South before 1954 compared to the frequent occurrence of integration in the North. Also in the South, BSA allies and supporters, like the YMCA, did not also support Black troops. In Richmond, Virginia, Blacks were not allowed to use the Y's facilities to earn merit badges, specifically for swimming. After the Civil Rights Act, slowly troops began to integrate throughout the nation, even in the South. Some troops chose to remain all Black to provide a heightened sense of community. Hamilton Bradley of New York is the earliest known Black Eagle Scout. His Eagle Scout Court of Honor was held on December 19th, 1919, according to newspaper records from the time. Harry Cooper was a member of the All Black Troop 92 in Kansas City, Missouri. He became an Eagle Scout in 1920. Edgar V. Cunningham earned Eagle status in 1926 and James Edward Jackson Jr. in 1930. Scouts have been outstanding across the country and recognized in local news articles. Ernest Green was a distinguished Eagle Scout and one of the Little Rock Nine, integrating the school. They were scouts.